your ego can be the number one roadblock to whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in life, or whatever your goals are, or whatever it is that you want to get proficient at in life. This morning I'm on my way to work right now, but this morning for whatever reason, one of my old clients popped into my head, and it was this dude. I probably worked with him for about 6 months. Honestly, it was at one of these building phases in my personal training career where I just kind of needed some consistent bread coming in. So, if this person came to me now and wanted to train with me, I probably would say no. But it was like this venture capitalist, millionaire dude, short guy. Not saying there's anything wrong with being a short guy, but the guy had a little man's complex. He brought up height all the time. And he brought up the fact that he was supposed to be taller than what he was, but he had some type of condition that, you know what I mean? Whatever it was, it's just like, dude, you 50 years old at this point, like, just let it go. You know what I mean? You're 5'7". But at the end of the day, this dude had a humongous ego. And the little man's complex thing definitely had a lot to do with that. And his mindset was that he had the best ideas and that he was the smartest guy in the room all the time and X, Y, and Z, but his life was in shambles. The guy was going through a divorce, got cheated on, was with some other woman who was clearly just there because she thought that she was going to get some type of lifestyle from him. He talked a big game on these companies that he wanted to start, or these companies that he was invested in X, Y, and Z. And maybe the guy did have a good amount of money. I used to train him at his house. So if you guys are familiar with San Francisco, he did have a pretty nice house in Pacific Heights, kind of just the standard vehicles that you would expect from somebody like that. Tesla, Range Rover, nothing too crazy. But at the end of the day, every single aspect of this guy's life had a lot of leaks in it. And it's because the guy never paid attention to the details about certain things. And I don't know nothing about his work situation as far as how he ran his company, but I could tell by the way he treated me, who was his personal trainer, he didn't really have much respect for me as a human being. He might have respected, and really, this was actually debatable, he might have respected my craft as a trainer, which is why he hired me. But at the end of the day, the guy really didn't even really want to listen to too much that I had to say, because he was so caught up in thinking that he knew it was best. Even when it came down to something that he clearly didn't know anything about. He didn't know anything about lifting weights. He didn't know anything about calisthenics. He didn't know anything about achieving his dream physique. His body wasn't the way that he wanted it. He was unhappy about all these different things, but yet when I would tell him to lift weights a certain way, or when I would tell him to do certain exercises, the guy always pushed back. He always had something to say. Anytime we did a leg day, the guy hated training legs. He'd be like, oh, this just feels like stretching. The guy had zero stability in his legs. He did not want to build a foundation in his legs in order to start pushing some heavy weight. And I was telling him, like, I'm not going to let you get under a squat rack. I'm not going to let you get under a barbell until you actually develop some single leg stability. But the guy was pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until one day I finally was like, you know what, fuck it. Let me let this motherfucker get under a barbell. First day getting under a barbell, I show him how to unrack the barbell to squat, to do back squats. This guy tries to put the barbell over his shoulders after he finishes doing a set of squats, injures his shoulder. After he just watched me, which I explained step by step, injures his shoulder trying to basically shoulder press a barbell over his shoulders, injures his shoulder, and then proceeds to blame me. He's like, I've never been injured in my life, and now all of a sudden, because I'm training with you. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, sometimes it's okay to just let yourself be a beginner, just realize, hey, look, I'm starting a pursuit. I actually need some help. I need to pay attention. I need to put my ego all the way down to the side and pay attention to the details of things. And I'm guilty of this myself. I'm sure you're guilty of this yourself as well. When I first started doing calisthenics, I injured my shoulders. I've injured myself doing certain things, and it's because I was trying to bite off more than I can chew. In relation to what this client was doing, he was always trying to lift heavy, and he wasn't strong enough or didn't have the stability enough to actually lift heavy with proper form. He didn't do full range of motion. He didn't, move with, whatever the movement was. Could have been a bench press. It could have been a pull up or a squat, whatever it may be. His form was always sloppy, and it was just because he was trying to do more than he was actually capable of. And when I started doing calisthenics, I did the same thing. Ended up injuring myself. And I started doing calisthenics almost 10 years ago, so I was significantly younger. I was in my early 30s when I started doing calisthenics. But for those of you who are in your 40s, this is a mistake that you just simply can't make. If you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, and you're starting a physical fitness pursuit, you have to all the way check your ego at the door. Because at the end of the day, you can't afford to get injured because you have too many responsibilities. You have too many people depending on you. You have to depend on yourself. So you can't get injured and be going to work with a bum shoulder. Or you can't injure have some type of lower body injury and get injured and then you have to work from home or whatever it may be. Or you can't do certain things with your kids, or you can't do certain things with your girlfriend or your wife or your fiance or whoever it may be. So just think about it from the standpoint of the slow way and the student way is always going to be the smart way to do things. So you have to make sure that you check the ego at the door, and you have to make sure that you take the stairs. Take the stairs. I was just talking to my cousin about this the other day, and that was what he said. He was like, yeah, man, we were just talking about our current business venture right now, and he was just like, man, we gonna take the stairs. And that's why, because I was talking about this topic the other day, just hit me in a different way today, because for whatever reason I thought about this guy, maybe because I was driving through this guy's neighborhood. But yeah, take the stairs, check the ego at the door, take the slow route, pay attention to detail. If you guys need help with your physical fitness journey, if you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, and you want to get in the best shape of your life, and you want to work with somebody who can resonate with where you're at and knows how to handle people in that age demographic, hit me up. Go to my website, hybridathlete40.com. I got programs that I can match you with. You take the assessment, we can match you with the program, or if you qualify, then we can do some one-on-one coaching. Just pulled up to work. But last thing about this guy, and this is kind of telling. I remember this dude always would say this. He say this at least once every week or once every other session that we would train. And he'd be like, I've got all the big ideas. I get paid because, I handle all the big ideas. I don't really need to deal with the details. And I understand that perspective to a certain extent of, wanting to have, big ideas. And, if you're a CEO, because I remember the first time I ever met the dude, he was like, yeah, I'm a CEO of this company. And I'm like, okay, bro, whatever. And, but he's always talking about how he's the guy with the big ideas and he doesn't need to pay attention to the details. But at the end of the day, you need to pay attention to the details in your life. The reason why he was getting played by all these women was because he didn't pay attention to the details in his life. He got played by his ex-wife. He got played by his current girlfriend, who he was with for like 6 months. And the dude literally was about to buy this woman a house, and she was breaking up with him. It didn't really make any sense what he was talking about. And, but yeah, he didn't pay attention to the details on these relationships, apparently. And when it came down to these workouts, when it came down to following my instructions, he wasn't paying attention to the details, which is why he got hurt, and so on and so forth. You pay attention. You don't pay attention to the details in life. That's what and on top of that, when I first met the guy, he was going through a lawsuit where his company got sued like $15 million. I think he had to pay the dude like $5 to $15 million. And obviously he wasn't paying attention to the details then. So it's okay to have big ideas, but you also have to be detail oriented. And a part of paying attention to the details is checking that ego at the door. And just, being detail oriented is just separate from ego as well. It's just being mindful. But anyways, Don't be like this guy. Don't think that you know everything and that you don't have to pay attention to the details and that you don't need help, and respect the people who are helping you and to pay attention to the people who are helping you. But anyways, hope everybody's having a great day out there. I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.